Hi, everyone. You're tuning into the 52 Healthy Habits podcast with Donnell and Marilyn, and we are happy to have you. Make sure you join our email list. You can do that in the show notes. We have the link to sign up for that and follow us on our social medias. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Healthy Habits podcast. Well, it's actually 52 Healthy Habits, Mom, because the real reason is I couldn't get the name for Healthy Habits on any of the socials. I was like, well, how could I add a number that would make sense when people are looking it up? And I thought 52 because you're
52.
doing every week.
Every week we're doing it.
This is our third episode. Our first one was on the fats, and our second one was on biohacking. And if you're on our email, then you have received 2 emails so far from us. If you haven't, make sure you let us know so we can adjust that. How's it been going?
Well, we're back on the sofa and I'm still under a
In our
blanket.
It's cold.
It's been good. And, as we talk about these things, it refreshes my thinking and what I need to do. And it makes me start thinking of ways that I can incorporate some of these things better in my life.
Have you found yourself talking about, hey, we can't get that has low fat in it?
Well, remember the time we were doing the low fat, that day I was cooking lasagna and I had run to the grocery store and I'd picked up
The low
the
fat
cheese. And when I started making it, I had got low fat cheese and I was just busy. I was in a hurry. I was probably comparing prices. So yes, it has made me more aware.
And then, have you done any biohacking?
I think we do biohacking all the time. When, like I said before, when that big word was biohacking, what is that? Biohacking is really pretty simple. It's simple things we do to make life better for us. And yes, I am doing some biohacking.
Yes.
Well, I started doing the oil pulling before we had the last show, but
Very
I
good for
hadn't
you.
got consistent with it yet. So I'm working on that.
There's a book out there called Atomic Habits, and it's by James Clearly. I think that's his last name. I get his email every week, and I like his emails because it's pretty straightforward, but it's not about having a habit. And you'll know this. So if you have some habits in your life, let's say you make your bed, brushing your teeth, those are things that you've probably been doing all your life. So you don't think about them. But as we get older and we try to incorporate new habits in, they say 21 days or whatever, but he teaches it a little differently. Because if you are working on a habit and you go on vacation and you come home and you're hitting the ground running when you get home from vacation, some of those new habits go away. Or a good example is the holidays. You start a new meal plan, a new fitness routine right before the holidays come, and then you get derailed. And it's because you don't have a system in place. And that's what Atomic Habits is about, is creating systems. So for us to have the podcast, which I'm launching 2 podcasts this year. I have this one, and then twice a month I have a Pilates podcast with one of my teachers. And in order to have that happen, I have systems. So this is my calendar that I bought at $1. This is the whole month of January, and these are all of my posts that I put out. And I have a system, and you can see, I have a system on my computer using Google Drive where I have it organized to where I have social media packs 1 through 1A through 1E for every day of the week, and then 2A through 2E. So I just create all that content and then I go and I pull from that. But it took me 6 weeks to get prepared. And now I have a system, so I just pull and drop because I'm busy. There's no other way I could handle the amount of work that a podcast and all of that takes. It's a lot of work, isn't it? It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
This is like, oh my gosh, I am not the planner. She's the planner.
I also have a planner. I also have
a planner. She
I
uses all these
I do.
planners.
I work from them. Like really they're like this is what my week these are all my tasks. They're color coded and it tells me exactly what I need to work on. So
Well,
yeah,
you know
I
what's funny? I
I
do a lot
do.
of planning in my mind,
Mhm.
and you and I used to get arguments
Yep.
because I wanted to talk about something late at night because I like to think about it and sleep on it. And she wants, when she'll want to hear it, she'll want to talk about
It's
it.
done.
She's done. Mine is, I kind of mull over things.
Ideally at the studio, like my perfect studio would be 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and that's it. That's it. The rest of the day is done because I'm not a afternoon or evening
Well, you were
person.
talking about holidays messing things up.
Yeah.
And my primary care doctor is pretty cute. And I see her every 3 months. And I had an appointment like the Monday following Thanksgiving. And she claps her hands. She goes, she goes, oh, you lost 2 pounds a week after Thanksgiving. This is awesome. We didn't have Thanksgiving dinner. We had fajitas.
I was in Mexico for
Yeah, she was in
Thanksgiving.
Mexico, and it was just 4 of us, and we just
And Scout.
and Scout. Scout was with us. Yeah, Scout stays with us when she goes on trips.
Well,
Mm.
speaking of food and stressful situations, holidays are stressful. We're going to talk to you today about inflammation and how it affects your body, your mind, and you might find some things that are surprising. Hopefully, on each show, you find some things that are surprising because we do. We're
Yeah,
learning.
well, we're learning along with them, and we go out and read about these things and study 'em. Now, on inflammation, I've always picked up stuff on that and read about it because I deal with it. And hopefully we will incorporate what we learn, and also they'll find something they can incorporate into their daily living.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be back and talk to you about inflammation in just a moment.
Hey everyone, movement is great for anyone in any stage of life. Every episode, we will share tips on movement with Donnell, who owns a Pilates studio in Oklahoma and online.
Scouts here with us. Movement is a big part of my life, and it is a part of mom's life, just in a different capacity. And depending on where you are in your stage of life, whatever chapter you're in, then movement is going to be different for you as well. But movement in our weekly newsletter, it's a 10-minute segment, and I hope you guys are trying those out. 10 minutes is not a lot of time. 10 minutes a day is better than no minutes a day, and you might learn something along the way. So, this week, it's going to be about fascia. And in a little bit, we're going to talk to you about your fascia and how important it is that we work with that fascia. There's a class called Yin Yoga, which mom isn't necessarily a big supporter of yoga, right? I think she's been very pleased that I've taken the studio from a yoga studio to a Pilates studio. And it's taken time to do that, but
Well, when you came home from Europe and you were talking about Pilates, I had no idea what Pilates was, but I learned that Pilates is simply an exercise.
as an extra.
I had, when I took Pilates with you, I had some breakthroughs,
Yeah.
and it
And
was
you
pretty
still would.
still went.
I mean, I
Mm.
know some would. Do you know how many hours I have taught? I want you to guess.
Oh,
You
I
know,
don't know.
like that
It's probably
candy?
kinda like when I go through and figure out how many times I've done dishes in my life. I've been married 52 years,
You
and I
might have
did a
done
lot of
dishes more than
dishes
I've taught.
before. So, yeah,
So get a guess.
I don't know, I couldn't guess.
Guess. Just put
How many times you taught
how
Pilates?
many hours I've taught since I've
Oh,
started. And I
oh,
started teaching in 2008.
I'm not good with numbers. 700.
10,000.
10,000.
Just over 10,000. So I was looking this up because I'm going to take my Pilates business, I guess, who I am in the Pilates world. I'm taking it up to the next level. And I was filling out some stuff and logging my hours. And 10,000 hours in the exercise world is considered elite.
Wow.
Not crazy.
Elite.
It's weird. But I mean, it is. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of time I've spent on different bodies.
I'm probably elite in dishwashing.
You This is true. So my video this week is going to be on the fascia. And there's a type of yoga called yin yoga. And I want mom to hear this because mom is not wrong. Yoga does have parts to it that can open up doors that can lead people down a path of, well, let me give you an example. When I first opened my studio in Marlow, I didn't have any teachers. I was really the only one in the area doing the type of classes at the quality that I teach. There was a couple of like gyms that had yoga, but it wasn't like yoga or Pilates. Gyms just have a different mentality. So it was great as movement, but it wasn't what I was bringing to the table. I was in a lot of groups on Facebook. At that time, Facebook groups were really popular. They're not as popular anymore. And I just did a post. I'm looking for some online teachers that are certified looking for a start. And I had two girls, one from Maine and one from Kansas City. And I love them both. And they got their start with me. And I would teach yoga. And then I would have online yoga with Haley and Abby. And Haley at that time was really into yoga with the crystals and the you see your face, the crystals and the singing bowls and all the things. And I just really prayed for her. I was like, this person came into my life. I'm gonna be a person for her, a very constant, the type of Christian that I am. And I never said anything to her about it, but I've always prayed for her. And she has given her life over to Christ.
Oh,
She
good.
has completely left the yoga world because it opened up so many doors for her. And on New Year's Eve, I noticed that she went to a praise and worship conference at our church and like helped all the, and she's a lot of times yoga instructors want to help people. And so she's doing it in a whole new light and she's bringing other people to Christ that were in that, and all she has said is, I was looking for something and I didn't know. So, yoga for my mom and I, it's always been something that's been a little bit of a tense subject because of what yoga can do. You have to be really careful around
Well,
yoga.
many things can lead the wrong direction.
Yeah, there's a lot of Netflix
And, you
shows
know,
that can lead the wrong
right.
direction.
And reading books, and you can open things that you don't
She's gonna
want to
come after
open.
me after my books now.
No, I am not.
Yin has the word yoga in it, but it actually was created by a martial artist in the 80s. And the only reason why it has yoga in it is because of the types of postures. So, if you're familiar with yoga, there's a posture called pigeon. In Yin, we call it swan. And the reason why is whenever you're a yoga practitioner and the teacher calls for pigeon pose, your subconscious automatically does something because it's a signal. It's towards the end of class. I made it. I don't have to suffer in these standing postures anymore. I'm good to go. In yin, we call it swan because we don't want that subconscious to kick in and it starts to relax you in a different way because we're working through that fascia in yin. So we're holding on. So I'm not going to show you. So pretend this is your right leg is like this and your left leg is back here. We're opening up this hip in that posture. And so we want to sit in that uncomfortable spot, like that, you know what? Yeah. So I'm just barely touching her. Her fascia is really tight and you can see her face. We're just holding that to work through that fascia and then we release it. So in yin, you're holding the postures for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we move on to the next one, which is really cool.
It-
So it doesn't have any of the yoga elements or three principles. Hold for time, stillness of the mind, meaning you really have to work through. That's the hardest part of yin for a lot of people at first, especially with someone with ADHD or ADD, because your mind is constantly going and they're not able to just chill and you're lost in all those thoughts. So there's that, and then holding for time. Those are the three principles of yin. And it's really brings your body into parasympathetic, calls it into action. And it's something I want you guys to do before bed. It's a bedtime routine. So
well,
that'll be your movement for the week.
and we get to learn more.
Yeah, you do. And we're going to dive into our topic on inflammation next. Okay, so welcome back to our show. Today's topic, our main topic, is about inflammation. And I think, Mom, even though we're all familiar with this word, today we're going to peel back some layers.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you think inflammation, you think about like your ankle. Do I know about ankles?
A little bit.
like when I fell down the stairs, my ankle was inflamed.
Yes, for
I
sure.
had some pretty severe inflammation for years
For years.
and years.
And a little bit, not always, but sometimes it flares up.
Oh, yeah, it still flares up.
And like she said, an ankle, a sore throat, arthritis, something red, hot, or painful. Remember when Josh hurt his thumb and do you not remember this? He hurt his thumb really bad and we would put it in paraffin wax. We bought a crock pot to
Oh,
put the
that's right.
paraffin wax with frankincense oil and it healed that ligament up.
I forget about that. I've
So
got that, and we can put our hands in there and feel that off, and it
we
feels
should do
so
that on the
good.
show. So inflammation is a whole body communication. It can affect your energy, your mood, your sleep, your digestion, and your mind. So it's not just these acute things that we're talking about. Have you ever said, I feel tired but weird? How many times have I said that to you?
You call me and say that. My sister Diane says that.
Yep.
I've said that. I'm pretty sure Barbara Sue has said that. My other sister.
Or how about my brain feels foggy?
Yeah,
Yeah. Or I'm doing everything right, but I still feel off.
right, right.
These are words that or phrases that you may say. This is the episode that you might want to tune into today. Because understanding inflammation helps us move from what is wrong with me to what is my body responding to. And I think that's really important to understand because when mom first got sick, so this was you got sick in 2023? Yeah, because the new studio had been open for a year. Was it 23 or 22? Regardless, it was a while ago. Would it be
It's
4 years this summer?
4 years this summer.
So it was 2022. I got really freaked out because the doctor said that we all needed to be tested because what she has is a chronic inflammatory.
No,
No, it's cholesterol.
cholesterol. It's a chronic
Hereditary.
from my dad. And there's 6 of us kids, and so far I'm the only one that has had it.
Thanks.
So
Thanks for
they
picking that
said
up.
that my kids would have to be tested, but later I found out it was,
After we hit menopause.
yeah,
Not
50s,
there
they
yet.
said.
I am almost 50, but I'm not there yet. But it really freaked me out. So I went to this guy named Dr. Daniel Pompous, which you pulled up his stuff the other day and you were like, look at this. And I sent off my stuff. And it was one of those where they wanted to, well, first of all, I've said this on other shows. Mom and I are salespeople. So a salesperson could sniff out a cell a mile away, right? You just know when the language starts happening, you're like, what are you selling me? And my husband is very frugal, but I did the test and they weren't wrong. My inflammatory markers were off the charts and I was in a highly stressed out state. I have a lot of trauma around mom being sick and you were very sick at that time. And then I had a teacher at my studio that her dad, right in the middle of all of this, her dad passed away in a very traumatic way too. So it was just a very stressful July. And so, of course, my inflammatory markers would be off the charts, but they were really off the charts and they were really trying hard for me to go into his program. But instead, I started following him and learning everything he had out there for free, right? So instead of paying I think it was like $14,000 or something.
Whoa.
I don't remember if that was the price. Yeah, it was really, and I'm like, but there's got to be some ways that we can learn this without spending that kind of money. And I didn't feel like I was at an age that it was detrimental. Do you feel like it led to a lot of the things that I've done over the past 4 years that have brought me to a very different place in my life? And I think in terms of where mom was when she was my age, to where I am at mom's age, I'm light years ahead of where you were in terms of taking care of my body, biohacking. Of course, there's a lot more information out there now than there used
I
to be.
just don't think I I didn't have good information to do.
No,
I was trying to gather it, but I just didn't.
there wasn't as many resources
Yeah,
as there
there's
are
more
today.
resources now than there was.
And there wasn't, if you think about it, it's really hard for us to think about these things because I was listening to a Pilates podcast and when they started Pilates, I called mom. I was like, can you believe this? But they started in 2009. I was just new to the Pilates scene at that time and they started their Pilates online business at that time doing online videos, but YouTube wasn't even a thing then. I mean, like your videos were very short. You didn't have it took forever to upload. And we take that for granted now because you just go to you watch YouTube on your TV.
I do.
But even 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been as
No.
accessible as it is now. So, and that's where last week we talked about in the garden section, the come and get me onions. What is it?
Cat and coming.
That.
You started a monster movie. The onions are going to come and get you.
Those onions she learned from YouTube. So,
Yes, I did.
yeah, the resources are there. So, inflammation just really what we're going to teach you today is you've got to learn the markers, the responses of why is my body responding to what's happening.
I want to say that, my sisters and I talk on the phone all the time. And
On
they
speaker.
were way back when I say I wasn't there yet, we were gathering information because my family, has got a lot of weird illnesses. And we all believe it's from the chemicals on the farm. And also, we had a really rough childhood, even though we had a good home. There was a lot of things going on that led into this, I think. So I think the combination of all that, we got a rough beginning. So we're trying to work through it. But what was I going to say? So what we learned from our meetings on the phone, solving the world problem, we started realizing it wasn't like one thing against you. It was a building of it. Like, we had a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
We had somebody killed in a car wreck, and then we had a whole entire family killed in a car wreck, and then we had my mom, and we had a murder. And it's not one thing, it's that building of things. And most people don't have that huge a thing going on, but we did. But smaller things, I mean, you have a Christmas dinner and then you have somebody stop by that was in the state. You just have these building of things, and that's when it starts becoming probably cortisol level, like we're going to talk
Kind of
about.
get that threshold of, well, and what she's talking about too is like, let's say you work in your garden. Okay. Let's say you're working out and your life is busy, but you have 2 hours to go do something in the garden. And then someone stops by because they see you out in your garden. And then an hour goes by and you didn't get planted or taken care of, but you have to move on about your day. That's stressful. And those things stack up.
Not all stress is a bad stress,
No.
but it's still stressful.
Yeah. And it's just that awareness of learning those things. Okay. Continuing on telling you what inflammation is and what it isn't. Inflammation is your immune system's response to a perceived threat. So, if you're thinking of it from a medical background, it involves the immune cells and chemical messengers that are showing up to protect, repair, and restore balance, whatever's going on in your body. And historically, inflammation was understood as an acute response. Ancient physicians described it as redness, heat, swelling, and pain, visible signs that the body was healing, and that understanding was correct because it was acute inflammation. But so you cut your finger, inflammation helps heal it, right? You catch a virus, your inflammation is helping you fight it. Hopefully, anyone that has any kind of virus going on, your body's well enough to fight it. And if you go back to our first email that we sent out, I put my garlic recipe. And that's what I drink to fight viruses that are going around.
Biohack.
It's a biohack. Sure. Your problem is not inflammation itself. The problem is the chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that just basically stays on in the background. So are you the type of person when you go to a hotel room that you have to turn off all those annoying lights?
No,
I am. I cannot have the alarm clock, or we stay a lot in
she
home.
covers everything.
I cover everything up. And here, when I stay at your house, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another light on. But those are on that microwave light is on all night long. And that's what's going on in your body when you have this low grade inflammation happening.
You wouldn't know this because this was very early on in Nona and I's marriage, but he had really bad arthritis in his neck. And we found this out from him going, he loved to go to caves. And so we would take trips and go through caves. But he would start being miserable after every cave visit. My uncle, your Uncle Glenn, was a medical doctor in Ardmore, Oklahoma, but he had a clinic, a world known clinic for arthritis. And we would go see him. And we would go about every 6 weeks to try to help Don get through this. And we had to quit going to caves. That was one of the things
Yeah.
we had to quit doing because it was cold, dark, wet, and that just promoted this a lot. Every single time Don went, he had a low-grade infection. He has arthritis. I'm sure he has arthritis, but we got through that. But during that time, we changed a lot of the eating habits. I know we incorporated, that was years ago. We've been married 50 years, 53 years, 52 years, I don't know, 50 some years. And we incorporated Bing cherries. That was a big thing. And I know pineapple was a big thing that we incorporated into the diet. So we made some changes back then, but it was interesting to me that he always had a low-grade infection every single time.
That's interesting. That pineapple back then was really yum because
Well,
it's not the
we
same
probably
today.
used canned.
Oh,
That was before we knew. And we lived out on the farm. You get to run to town. We lived a long ways from a good grocery store.
do you know there's some information out there and some theories out there, and Josh rolls his eyes every time I say this, that arthritis and MS are linked to parasites?
Yes, I do know that. And I have
And if
wondered.
you and did you know that pineapple is something that gets rid of parasites? And
Yes,
so does
and
cherries.
I read that and Dawn and I have been
Interesting.
incorporating pineapple back in, but we have been using the can. I'm sorry. We have.
Ugh. Well, honestly, most of your pineapple today is GMO anyways.
I don't
I
know.
don't know which is better, but I love pineapple. It's one of my favorite
Well, there's
fruit.
something in the supplements we take.
Yeah, we do have pineapple in the supplements we take.
I can't remember what the chemical name is, but there's what you need from pineapple is in the supplements that we take.
Mhm.
So we do have that. There's never any, I mean, it's always great to eat the real thing. So I just give him a little cup and blueberries. I do that too. I just give a little bowl about that big and put
Dad
pineapple.
gets his fruit cup. Like the nursing home, here's your fruit cup. It's probably has some pills
She
next to
told
it.
me that I made him.
This is their nursing home. We're not doing nursing homes.
No, it's good to put it. I mean, they're not going to eat it if you don't put them on their plate. So there's that.
Well, that's a man thing. It's a man thing. Remember, chronic inflammation doesn't always feel like pain either. Chronic inflammation can show up as fatigue, low motivation, brain fog, poor sleep, and anxiety, emotional reactivity. I think that's a big one. As a woman, do we have moments every month where we have emotional reactivity that's higher?
I don't think it's fair. I really don't think it's fair because I have Donnell and Diva and Rena. My goodness. Yes. Do y'all need to eat more pineapple? Or what?
Something. So if you're under some chronic stress that is ongoing, it makes that even worse. Those emotional reactivity worse.
Well,
And you hear women say, "Well, I don't really ever act like that." And you're like, "Well, what?" Or like my husband will be like, yeah, I use Slack to communicate with different groups I'm in. You might want to just lay off the Slack for a couple of
Like,
days.
don't communicate for a few
Just
days.
Keep your thoughts to yourself for a few days.
Well, you get real bitey.
Yeah.
I mean, your tone of your voice changes, and we all know, and well, when you were younger at home, when you were in a premenstrual, we knew because you would put your arms out like this and you'd eat with both.
Yeah. Those of you that aren't watching the video version, we have our elbows out like basketball.
You just
elbows out.
shovel
Yeah, I
food
just
in your
shovel
mouth.
food in my mouth.
I don't know. I guess you needed more protein or something.
Yeah, well, learning all the things through macro coaching, I was just under 8. I was under not I wasn't malnourished, like, because of the food you had. I was malnourished because I just wasn't getting enough food
For your
for me.
body's
Yeah,
needs.
for my needs.
The emotional. There's other things. It's not.
Yeah, it's just not that. I'm just being
No,
funny
she
on
just.
that because everybody can most females can relate to that, where you're
But
just
I think that when you have a buildup of serious emotional issues, you may feel like you're dealing with it, but maybe you're not. And if it's adding to that chronic inflammation, well, for instance, if I told you I mull over things before I go to sleep, but I don't mean, I'm talking about like what I'm going to get done tomorrow. It's like it's setting my intentions for the next day. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if something happened at work and every day you're thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it, you're releasing chemicals into your body that is going to cause ongoing problems if you don't deal with it.
yep.
And you said you like Mel Robbins,
I do love no
and she's got a
Robins.
new book out. What's her new book called?
Let them.
Let them,
It's a
just
great book.
let them. And sometimes you just another thing we say is let it go. Or she says, just let them think the way they think and just go on about your business. We have to learn to deal with that. If it comes to the point you need to talk to somebody about it, we still love the therapist we went to. We went to family therapy when we found out I have a blood disease that we haven't talked about. The blood disease was affecting the whole family in certain ways. We don't think about that, but it was affecting everyone because of how I had to be careful what I eat, be careful what I did. We went to therapy and we loved our
Yeah,
therapist. We still love her.
I do still love her. She's great. Almost had to go to therapy over Scout's situation too. Scout was a lot for a little bit.
So anyway, I just think people need to know that it's okay to go
Yeah,
get that type of help if that's what you need, if it's going to make you better for the long term of your life.
yeah.
And I think going to family counseling has made all of us better for the longevity of
I
our life.
still, even though as a kid when I went to Dr. Lorna, I still use a lot of the
Techniques.
techniques that she taught me, and they helped me through a lot of different
And
things.
really, that's what we're talking about, techniques and techniques to make our life more livable, more enjoyable. Sometimes we just need to live, just
I've been working on a post for about 3 or 4 weeks that I'm getting ready to transition into something totally new, and I've been trying to think of how I want to word that, and I like to write, so I'm very confusing on social media because it seems like I'm a very outgoing person, but I'm not. But my post, I keep putting life is not meant to be wasted. You should be living your life. And when you're in chronic inflammation and you have the low energy, you have the fatigue, you don't feel like doing anything. Your laundry piles up,
and
your
you wonder
dishes pile
why.
up, and you start blaming yourself. And that's not really what's happening. Your immune system is actually doing what it thinks it needs to be doing, but you're going to have to help it out. You're going to have to start removing things in your life that are causing these stressful situations. That my whole point on that is you might be working a job that you just do because you've been there for 10 years. You don't have to be there. You have permission to be like, this job sucks and I want to go somewhere else and I want to do something I want for myself. Now take the measured steps. Don't just go quit your job tomorrow.
I was going to say, oh, wait a
But
minute.
my point is if something like that is really causing you a lot of stress, it is not worth the heart condition that you're putting yourself in for when you're in your 60s and 70s. Because you're thinking right now, I'm 35 years old, I'm working, I've got retirement. When I'm 60, I'm going to go travel the world. No, you're not. Not if you're stressed out. You're going to be at the doctor's office constantly.
What is it Don says? We found out what the golden years are about. It's
Yeah.
about the gold you're going to take to your doctors,
Yeah.
because we do have things around our doctor's appointments, and I don't think we go to the doctor near as much as other people. Now that I have this illness, yes, but What?
Yeah, you go to the doctor all the time. I'm like, what are you doing today? I have a doctor's appointment. How many doctors do you have? 11.
No, I have 6.
Oh, okay.
Excuse
6.
me. I have 6.
I mean, they're important.
Oh.
So, but my whole point is you're going to have to determine what is causing you stress and removing some of that. It could be the foods you're eating. It could be the TV shows you're watching. If you like true crime documentaries, but your parasympathetic nervous system is never coming into action and you watch murders all the time, this is not good for
I've
you.
been binge watching.
That's true. She has been binge
I'm laughing because I've been binge watching because I've had to sit still. So a lot of times I do the YouTubes, but right now I'm on a little
crime show.
crime
You
show.
are on a crime show. Okay, it's kind of like what was that guy's name? Miami, the really bad actor that was had red hair, and it was like,
Oh,
what was that
Miami
show?
Vice.
No, it wasn't Miami Vice. It was CSI Miami.
Oh, yeah, there. It had Miami. Anyway, we're on a tangent. So I want to say something. Lost my thought on it. So we'll go on and maybe I'll catch it later.
Okay, so if she comes back to that, we'll come back to it. So where the idea started and why anti-inflammatory. For centuries, medicine focused on inflammation as something as temporary and visible. And the idea that inflammation could be long-term, low-grade, and quietly destructive is relatively newer in our terms, which probably, if we want to think about it, can go back to, well, definitely in the 1900s, like early 1900s. I don't really think that this chronic inflammation and chronic stress was there when they were riding wagons around. I mean, I think they had stress, but I don't think it was
They
killing
died young.
well, yeah, because they were
They
called
long.
nature, facing the other things. But as technology, as the world advances, as industries are introduced, we had a lady that came and interned with us for a while. Do you remember her? Don't remember her name. No, she moved here from Georgia and she worked for a company, a carpet company, I believe. She was the one that put oregano. We told her not to put it on her gums and she just sat there right in front of us. And she goes, no, it's good for me. And she put it on her gums.
Oh, I know who it is.
I don't remember her name.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Wheeler. Her last name was Wheeler. She worked for a carpet company that so many people died from the chemicals in the community, and she would go back to Georgia and like live with some of these people and help them through their cancer journeys.
Yeah, that's pretty
It was
stressful. What I'm saying is back in the
her name was
before
Pam.
1920, they didn't have a lot of this. I mean, they did, but not the same as what we have. I would say from the night, I would have to go look it up, but I would assume when factories are introduced in America and all these things started really be like more people were consuming more products. So carpet in every household. These floors that mom has in her house are not real wood. That's I have it in the studio, manufactured wood. All of those things, as great as they are, they also come with a cost environmentally for what we're exposed to and the areas we live in. So this chronic stress, all of these things are relatively new. So that's why the science on it is not very old, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And then a lot of cover up for that could be what?
Do we need our tinfoil hat for that statement?
Well, I have been binge watching a crime show. Give me a break.
Aluminum foil is not good for you, if you want me to tell you that.
Some of that gets exhausting for us too. When we're talking about feeling exhausted, we have so much information coming in.
So much information. Just
now let's get back to the meat of this.
In the late 20th century, researchers began linking chronic inflammation to heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, metabolic issues, neurodegenerative diseases, depression, and anxiety. So this was a big shift in how we understood illness. And around the same time, researchers introduced a concept that had the idea that chronic inflammation accumulates over time and contributes to many age-related diseases.
You know, when I hear you talk about we talk about the redness and the inflame. There's a little documentary out there called My Brain's on Fire. I think some people get so bad they actually say, I feel like I'm on fire.
Oh, that sounds like, fibromyalgia.
Well, and that's a new autoimmune that is probably from inflammation, isn't it? I would
I would
guess.
guess. I mean, I don't
We're
know.
not doctors.
If you go back and listen to the fats episode that we had and the biohacking, it really relates to the chronic stress and the underlying stress that we go through. Introducing that low fat food introduced the refined sugars and carbs, which probably pushed forward the biohacking because we're having biohack and reverse all of the ultra processed food. So it kind of all works together, one big hamster wheel. But it doesn't mean, that everything we do is bad for us. We just have to learn how to create different systems for ourselves. Setting boundaries is a really good idea. Yeah, boundaries are good. There's an oil that helps you set boundaries, and we don't like mom to use that oil. Which one was it? Was
Mm,
it tea tree or clove?
tea tree does.
Was it? Yeah, it was one of those that
Cloves does too.
you would put it on and you'd be like, "We're not doing that today. Why not?" 'Cause that's you want to remove those chronic signals of danger and replace it with signals of safety. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Is just what can you do whenever you're looking at these types of things? So, we're going to talk about some ways you can work through some of the. We're going to talk about some ways to help you overcome some of these inflammatory responses. So, chronic stress is one inflammatory trigger for most people, not necessarily trauma, not emergencies. But those would be like being in an emergency would be more acute stress. That's when your cortisol is supposed to kick in. It's supposed to help your adrenaline. It's supposed to help you through that. But just the constant pressure, whether it's financial, spiritual, relationships, your body does not
Or all of
distinguish.
those.
Yeah,
That can all
all
happen.
of that. Your body does not distinguish between physical danger and psychological stress. And when stress is going on, the nervous system stays activated. And so those cortisol rhythms become dysregulated. And that is where we get into big trouble, especially as women going through perimenopause. When you just stay in that constant state, I see so many TikToks of moms just like, going into the closet just to have a breather. There are ways for you to overcome that and get your body back into sync. Immune signaling shifts towards inflammation. Short burst of cortisol are need that. If you have a blowout on the road, your body has to react to that and get yourself through that to safety. Chronic dysregulation is inflammatory. And this is why someone can eat, work out, do all the things, they still feel crummy or inflamed. And feeling inflamed is not fun. When you can feel the inflammation. Like I stayed up pretty late last night. This morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I feel kind of inflamed a little bit. Stress is not a mindset issue. It's a biological signal. It's a biological signal. So I want to talk to you about chronic stress and fascia. And what do you know about fascia, Mom?
Well, I know that I have a problem in my fascia because if I just get touched and really around my ankle and my diva touched this part of my leg the other day and I about jumped out of my skin.
It really
But
does just
I
touch
had
that.
this, my left ankle is the one that was severely broken and I had years of recovery and that leg stays inflamed.
Yeah, it does.
It's a problem. Anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about this is we had a friend that was a massage therapist, and she specialized working with athletes that had inflammatory in their muscles. And literally, it was like she'd find a spot and push on it to release, and it would release. She couldn't find a spot on me to release it because I was so inflamed. I would just jump off the bed. It wasn't a bed, it was a
Table.
table.
Call it a massage table.
Table. I would jump off the table and she tried, like, she came back 2 or 3 times and she tried 2 or 3 times, but she said, "I just can't. The inflammation has to go before I can work." So, yeah, I do have some
And
situation with it.
and I would say at that time that she was working with you, you drank a lot of tea, a lot of Dr. Peppers,
That
ate a
time.
lot of Whataburger.
Oh.
I just said I've done it too, but those things are gonna keep you inflamed too. So, but your fascia is connective tissue that is all through your body and it connects into your nervous system. And so over time, fascia adapts to repeated tension and posture. You'll see as you age, rounded shoulders, someone that's like really it's been through a lot. Well, this is also a texting thing, but the fascia is what molds. It's kind of like the molding part
Hmm.
of your body. So it'll stay in that position. So, like in a lot of my classes, we're constantly opening up. And it hurts to open when you're constantly rounded. Fascia doesn't necessarily store memories the same way the brain does, but it does reflect long-term nervous system patterns. So I think that's really important to note.
Well, and I noticed too that in our notes it talked about clenched jaws. I can accuse, we talked about mine. You clench your jaws a lot when you're,
There's a TikTok trend that I wish I had a piece of paper, and it's usually two people, and a lot of times I've seen it with boutique owners where a customer comes in and they say something and the person can't believe that they're saying it. So mom is like but I will be like that. And so the trend is to put a fake smiley face in front of the person. It's like fix your face. But yeah, I do. I tend to clench my jaw quite a
yeah.
bit.
So that's one thing. And I guess probably that's where people have to, what's that called when you,
TMJ. I
TNJ?
don't have TMJ,
I know you don't, but I suppose that the grinding.
the grinding of the teeth and stuff. So when we move, we breathe and we do movement like through yoga, Pilates, mobility, myofascial work, we're able to change the sensory input to the nervous system. And that's important with your fascia because your fascia just gets so molded and you get stiff. I mean, it's just basically being stiff. And that nervous system, you want it to be more regulated because it'll help these chronic stress situations. So you'll start having what is always so funny to me is how people tell me they don't have the motivation to work out. Well, of course you don't. You're not working out. You have to work out to get motivation to work out. That's how it works because you're breaking through different systems. It's not just this one thing we're talking about. There's other things going on that make you not want to do it. I don't always want to work out, but I go do it and I always feel better after I work out. But the nervous system will feel safe enough to downshift and the emotions that were previously suppressed will come to surface. So a lot of times when you take a opening class like in yoga when we do heart openers where we're opening up all of this, sometimes people get really emotional. It's just because we've worked through a lot of that. So it allows those emotions to just come to surface that you've been suppressing so much. Basically they're kind of hiding if you not for real, like it's not a scientific thing, but metaphorically they're hiding behind that fascia and then we just open them up.
Which when we go back to the biohacking, a lot of things that we talked there would help with this because if you get out in nature, you're going to relax. If you're watching the sunrise and the sunset, it's beautiful. It's awing. And it's going to release some of that naturally, I would say. I mean, without a therapist.
Well, okay, this is not fascia related, but it's related to what we're talking about. So there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it talks about how chronic stress lives inside the body and healing often requires a body-based regulation. So it's a really good book to read. But there are two sitting here, and there is one that is terrified of heights. Sometime in her life, she had to have had a situation happen that deeply went into your subconscious that made her afraid of
It is
heights.
strange. I was not scared of heights when I was young. I was such a daredevil. I know when it happened. We went into this cave. It was called the Mammoth Cave, and you almost had to crawl in because the space was so small going in. But then it opened up to this huge room. And then when you left, you entered through this small passageway. But when you left, it was very deep down in there. And the stairs were metal, and somebody dropped a coin and it pinged, 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 pinged down that. And I mean, it pinged forever down those stairs. And I was looking down, and I think that's when the fear set in. I
It's
really do.
crazy.
And what I can't get across to my family is the physical.
I understand this because I can't get across to my family the physical ailment of getting on an airplane.
No, I can understand that too. But I mean, I know you have to convince people that that's okay. But I have sympathy for you on that. But it was just, it was just terrifying. It set this terror. And then sometimes it's like people playing practical jokes on you.
Yeah.
And I had a practical joke that caused me to be unknowingly going to a high. I got on an elevator, didn't know where I was going. They knew because they knew it was going to scare me.
That's mean.
And do you remember that time, New Year's Eve, when somebody talked us into going to watch the
Yes.
lights from downtown Oklahoma
Yes,
City?
I do.
And there was no railing.
There was no railing.
We were on top of the building.
Yeah, with
Oh my
crazy
gosh,
people.
it was
We
crazy.
were with that was the
It was
crazy
crazy.
family that we were
We
with.
went through. We had to go through a jail, and the
And the people were like reaching
and
out.
reaching for Donnell, and I get myself in
It
this
was great
situation.
for me to be like, I don't ever want to do this. Like, I never want to work in this situation or be in they were grabbing at us. Mom, that is a memory I have. So I have really gatekeeped because that was a nightmare to me.
I just couldn't believe I let myself get in that situation. I had no idea that my kids were going to be paraded through
I'm glad you were
jail.
there. What if you had
Oh, they wouldn't take you through a jail to go see New Year's. It was New Year's
New
Eve.
Year's Eve?
The fireworks. We're talking about adults. No. Oh my gosh.
That was we have a whole era in our family, and that was the crazy family. Not us. That was a family that we ran around with that were. Oof, we have a lot of stories on them.
Anyway,
And so sometimes when you're working through your fascia, you have things that pop up that you didn't even remember, or like her height thing, now she has pinpointed the story, but some people don't even know where that came from. So something else that will help you control and get back into a regulated system is your sleep. And you're probably going to hear a few podcasts on sleep because I think sleep is very underrated for how important it is. But when sleep is shortened or fragmented, your inflammatory markers rise and your stress tolerance drops. And that is why poor sleep often feels like anxiety, irritability, brain fog. What are some other things?
poor sleep. Well, you don't feel good the next day. You feel it's hard to focus.
Function.
Yeah, it's hard to get on a routine or back to normal.
Would you say you have some low resilience to situations?
I think you get sick easier too.
You do get sick easier.
You know, if you haven't had your sleep, you'll easily catch a Well, yeah, that's part of it.
I think this is a really interesting thing to think about. Sleep debt becomes inflammatory debt.
Wow. Say that again.
Sleep debt becomes inflammatory debt.
Wow.
Something else to help change your responses to your ongoing inflammatory, like that little microwave light on in the middle of the night, ultra processed food patterns. Now, I will get on my soapbox on this all day long because I truly believe that nutrition will solve a lot of problems. And eating ultra processed foods is not the go-to answer. You are not too busy to make food.
Well, you better not be. I mean, if you want to overcome, you're going to have to, I grow my food as much as I can. I mean, we go to the grocery store all the time. I don't mean that
Oh yeah. I mean, you can, but it is kind of hard to, you're growing food to supplement as much as you can in your house.
And, it's like we've said others, like movement. It's better to do some than none. It's better to make small changes than no changes at all. And you're going to have to learn to cook with fresh and live food.
Yeah, fresh and live food. And I don't think companies would exist today, supplement companies, if we didn't have the ultra processed food. So I don't think we would
Well, it exists, but not be as on demand.
I think it would be there for very few people versus pretty much everybody, but talking about gut inflammation. Your gut is your second brain. It is correlated to how mental wellness. Your gut is your second brain and it's connected to mental wellness. So when your gut is super inflamed, you're going to have the brain fog, the fatigue. You're not going to have clarity. You're not going to make good decisions. You're going to be an impulse buyer. You might have more consumerism. Christmas is going to be harder. Christmas, I always thought this was funny. Dave Ramsey has always said that I don't know why Christmas is so hard for everybody because it comes around every year. It's the same day every year. You just don't plan for it. And I think that's true, but I also think we have so much junk, so much brain fog, so much fatigue, so much low motivation because of being in chronic stress. I would say almost everybody has some sort of chronic stress in their life. If you're living in America and you're working and you have a family and your family's busy, like you have them in all the sports, there's no way you're not having stress in your life. And that is affecting your gut, it's affecting your brain. You
Well,
need to
even
work
if you
on
were going on a vacation, it can become stressful.
Yeah.
Don and I locked our keys in the car on the top at um, at the Grand Tetons, and not no cell service, and we had the keys inside the car. What are you going to do?
Oh, that's funny.
Your dad became a theatrical genius when he talked to the ranger.
That's funny. Do you remember that time we were in Seattle and we went and walked Mount Rainier and we rented that little Toyota Prius and we hiked for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and came back and we had left the car running the whole time.
Because the Prius, you couldn't hear it.
Well, it was also, yeah, one of those push button cars.
If we pushed the button and started the car, I said, Donnell, did you start the car with your keys on the way down here? No, it's running.
It was funny.
Ah!
Mount Rainier is not a place you want to
So,
get trapped.
so even when you're trying to relax, we deal with stressors. So
Yeah.
it's a life thing that we're going to deal with stressors.
So I know it's going to be no surprise, but another way to help deal with chronic stress is walking, Pilates, strength training, mobility support, circulation, lymph flow, which is the vibration plates that are really popular right now, and immune regulation. Movement tells the body that you're safe, you're capable, and we're okay.
I didn't know movement talked.
It does. It sends out little signals. You're
We're
safe.
capable. We're okay. I feel that way about gardening too.
Yeah.
It
That's
makes me
movement,
feel,
though.
yeah, but I feel like gardening helps me to feel like I am empowered. I can do this. And
Yeah, for sure. Another area that you can work on, you can hear Scout, she's scratching her neck. We'll let her finish. You done? Another area to work on is environmental mismatch. And what we mean by that is artificial lights at night, microwave light.
she's looking at me because I have discovered, no, is if I go to bed too early, I can't sleep. I'm tossing and turning. And when I have the machine, I have all this stuff.
That's because you're not getting enough protein, carbs, and fats during the day. That is why.
You talked a bit. You
Okay,
just
I'll
go on,
talk to y'all.
finish this.
So, artificial lights, the scrolling, the screen time, and there's this little thing, constant notifications. So, there's this little thing on your phone. Now, I'm only speaking to iPhone users. I'm not speaking to Androids because I don't know how that works. But on my phone, I can hit this little button right here and I can put do not disturb and I don't get any notifications. And I do this periodically. I'll tell my husband, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb so I can do some work because my phone is constantly busy and that causes stress because you feel like you have to immediately respond. It always cracks me up at the studio. I'll have someone text me at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning and they have a question. I'm not going to answer that question until Monday. It's Sunday. I'm not answering that question. I've learned to set boundaries because it gives me stress. But it's always funny because I'll get a follow-up text. Did you get my text? Yeah, I mean, I got your text. I'm not responding because I have boundaries and I'm not putting myself in a stressed out state. And you have to set those boundaries for yourself too. You have to do that because it's
boundaries is a podcast all of its own.
that would be a podcast all of its own. Another area to work on is your blood sugar. And we talked a lot about that with the very first episode of things that can affect your blood sugar, but it's definitely a little rabbit hole to dive down. It's not just waiting until you get your blood work and the doctor says you're pre-diabetic. There's a statistic out there that says most of Americans are pre-diabetic based on our diet. And if we're in an obesity rate of 4 out of 10 Americans are obese, we're already, I mean, that's just statistics. That's just there. So working on that, learning how to regulate your blood sugar is going to be very beneficial. And they're even showing that blood sugar is a correlation to dementia. I mean, so is gut health. So I think just learning these things and learning how to work for yourself, for your future grandchildren. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just all important.
Well, there's something I keep thinking about. I'm going to bring it up. Your dad has he doesn't now, but he has had open wounds. And so that's definitely inflammation. But it's where he would get his circulation wasn't good and there would be a pooling of blood. And then because that blood wasn't circulating with the rest of the blood, it was pooling and it would get inflamed. But sometimes we need to see if he would let us interview him and talk about it because this is a big deal. These open wounds are hard to get rid of. And they would have to go in every week and scrape that wound. And I think and that it was to bring the blood flow to that area.
Right.
And so, like every week, and a lot of people that have open wounds have no feeling, but Donnie did have feeling. And so he felt all that scraping. And so I think that there is some confusion about when we think about when our arm is cut, we get a cut, that's going to get red, might get warm around it, it's inflamed. So we don't think all the way through about inflammation starting to become ongoing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Your little microwave light that's on.
And even when Don was getting his wounds, I started noticing a pattern that he would start talking about feeling dizzy. And so the infection was starting before you ever saw the wound.
There are always signs.
Yeah. And I think that we need to really take a good look at ourselves and say, I've complained about this, I've complained about that. Or maybe you've talked to your doctor and they just kind of, they just kind of shrug it off. At my age, when you go to the doctor, guess what you hear? You know what you hear? You hear, at your age.
Yeah.
And so we're not being taught to deal with these underlying things. And I think today that's what we're trying to talk about. There's underlying things that lead to long term.
Yes. And inflammation is not just physical, it's systemic. It's, what's that word? How do you say that word? Systemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely affects your mental health. So I would say that too. I would say that Dad's wound cares have made him feel
Much better. He has had such good wound care. If you're not getting the results you need somewhere, we moved. That was on high on the list of being upset at the health care we were getting where we were at, knowing we were going into an age that we might need more health care. And Don's wound care was awesome here. Now that
it
doctor,
probably helped him mentally too.
well, and that doctor has left now, and that's a problem. And if anyone has open wounds, the people that do this work, the doctors, they don't stay there very long because it's a very discouraging. They don't see results fast. It's long term for everyone that has it. But for Don, they were aggressive and they helped him tremendously.
So through all of this, I would start, just like we said in the fats, are they villains or heroes? You got to start somewhere. You can't do it all at once. Don't be an American in this situation.
And buy
Be
your
European.
blueberries.
Yeah, buy your blueberries. Do one thing. Build it slowly.
Walk. Drink water.
Drink water. Get better sleep. Start putting the screen time down before you go to bed. Talk to me about macros. I will help you. Daily habits that calm inflammation and support the mind. Okay?
I hope this has helped. We've been all over the place.
We've been a little all over the place today, but
We're not normally like this.
maybe we're inflamed. We
Yeah.
could be.
Say so.
We'll be back with our gardening segment.
Did you know that Marilyn and Donnell have educated on essential oils since 2013? Each week, we will highlight an oil. In our newsletter that comes out on Fridays, we will have a DIY with our oil we spotlight. Here's today's oil.
Welcome back to our show. We're talking to you about lemon today. I love lemon.
Lemon is so awesome. And if people don't use essential oils, I find lemon is one that they don't mind using.
Yeah.
Lemon, peppermint, lavender, common to the house.
Scout hates the oil, so she's telling me this. So lemon helps you feel happier. That's what citrus does. The other day, I was sitting there watching TV with my husband. I don't know what show we were watching, some spy show. And he goes, "How much do you think it costs to go to Sicily?" I said, "I don't know, but I can find out." So I do travel agent work. And I have a friend that went to Sicily or the Amalfi Coast, and they're big. That's where lemons come from. And she said it was just amazing. But lemon's one of my favorite scents, like
Well,
overall.
You know, when we first started
it
doing
smells so
lemon essential oils, I remember telling people to, if you have older parents, older relatives, to make sure if they're not getting out of the house, to make sure that they have a diffuser and get lemon in it often. It helps. I think it helps clear your mind. It
Yeah,
helps
it's for clarity, for
make
sure.
you it, and it's a cleanser.
Yeah, because it's a detoxifier, for
And
sure.
remember, lemon was one of the things your dad started using.
Yeah, on his drive home.
And that is when he started wanting to go places.
Yep.
That's really when he started heavy duty photography.
Yep, this is true.
And if y'all don't know my husband, he is a nature photographer. He's done really well with it.
So how you can use lemon, you can make cleaners with it, which will be part of your do-it-yourself on our newsletter this week. The other day, I was recording some Pilates classes, and I grabbed a marker and wrote on my whiteboard. I didn't realize it was a permanent marker.
It's
So
use lemon
you can use lemon and get that off. So,
and stickers.
and so like when
the
you buy stuff,
store stickers.
the store stickers, you can get, it comes off really easy with lemon. So lemon's got a lot of uses. And then you can also, as long as you're using a glass bottle or stainless steel, you can put a drop of it in your water. It won't bother the enamel of your teeth.
No, because it's taken from it's taken from the rind.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Lemon's awesome.
And it's probably one of our least expensive oils.
Yes,
It's
very
like
nice.
$17-ish. All right, we're going to talk to you about gardening, and we'll finish our show. So, Mom, what you got there?
Well,
I
it's
got one of these for Christmas.
show and tell time. So every
Big
gardener
sticker over here?
of Jackie Brewer from the Organic Garden Club, she sent me some seeds
Oh,
and she sent me stickers, and this one says crazy plant lady. So I stuck it on my
that's cute. It's a really
on my
cute.
thing. I made one of these for my brother, and I didn't do this for you because you know better. But for my brother, I laminated a sheet of paper and taped it on here that told the freeze dates and.
Mom, will you make one of these for the community garden?
Well, yes, I will.
And we'll pay for it.
So inside here this is from Michael's, and it is called the photo organizer, I think.
And sometimes they're on big time sale.
And they put them on sale a lot.
If you're watching the video version, we're pulling out. If they're listening to the audio, you're not going to know what we're talking about. So it's a photo organizer from Michael's, and it has all these like little photo containers.
I think there's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 16 individual containers.
And she has saved her seed and has organized it. And she gave me one of these for Christmas. And this is a garden tip because why?
You can get overwhelmed with seeds, and you can buy seeds that you already have. You know, some people go and buy plants, some people go and they hoard seeds. I think this helps because you can see exactly what you've got.
It's very
And I
organized.
put, if you're listening, typed out like beans, one container's for beans, one's for broccoli, Brussels sprouts, carrots. Some of them I've had to combine 2 or 3 in.
And for those of you that are essential oilers and you sell essential oils, I've also used the same system, and I put my sample vials in here. and then I just pull them out to send them out to people. So this is a really great like
So I typed up
organization system.
the words and then I started using Scotch tape and just a clear Scotch tape
Yeah,
and taped them on.
learned that
And
from Crystal. Who does that for our wrestling tournaments.
anyway, this is a time saver. You know where it's at. You're not going to be spending
Easy
money.
to put back up.
Yeah, easy to put away, know where to put it.
Love it.
We've tried all sorts of things to organize seeds,
It's probably
but
one of my most favorite Christmas gifts I've got.
I made one for Donnell for Christmas, made one. My brother is 79 and he loves to garden and he's mentally challenged, but I made one for him and I would see him go back and look at it over and over. Like he was excited you know, James is mentally challenged, but when he did go work and they found him a job, he ended up being a very organized person
Mhm.
and he did a lot of filing and that sort of thing, which was really, mind blowing because we didn't think of him. And it turned out he kind of has that type A
Oh,
personality
that runs in our entire family.
before.
Reunions, it's like, "Ah!"
And then he was like, they put him in charge of
Yeah.
people. And then
Imagine if he had gotten the chance to work at doTERRA.
oh
It's
my
like, that
goodness.
would be so fun.
Yes. And I just want to say this because not, if anyone has mentally challenged people out there, he ended up meeting, he lived in Wyoming at the time with my sister. He ended up meeting on a regular basis with the governor of Wyoming. They had breakfast together because he was a liaison for the mentally challenged people in Wyoming.
That's so cool. I think he was even on a billboard or something.
Yes, he was on a billboard and he was late to a wedding because he was having a meeting.
Do you have a picture of Uncle Jimmy with this scene? A
No,
picture
I
of it?
didn't. Well, I might, maybe. I
You
don't.
have to look through your phone.
I'll
If
have
you
to
do,
look.
we'll put it in the newsletter because he's really cute. So,
Anyway,
but this is a great garden tip right here. I love it. Thanks for tuning in. Scout has ran out of her patience, so she's going to start barking. And you guys have a great week. Look forward to your email on Friday of making them. And we'll see you next week. We're talking about cautionary buzzwords.
bye.
Thanks for tuning into today's show with Donnell and Marilyn. Follow us on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are on all of them. Join our newsletter. It's on Substack, but we send it to you every Friday. Can't wait to be back next week.